But Siyata Deshmaya, as we do every year, we do a little bit of a crash course in Halachos of Basar V'Chalav, which are Nageya to the Yontiv of Shevuos Haba Aleinu L'Toiva. Many shailas come up on the Yontiv of Shevuos, Legabe Basar V'Chalav, specifically because people are busy with milchiks and fleishiks. People are having, for example, a milchik Suda, or they're having a milchik Kiddush. We'll discuss Be'ez Hashem in the next few days exactly what the different minhagim that people have during Shevuos. But Al Kaponim, because people are busy with milchiks and fleishiks, we often have shailas of, for example, hot plates. Well, what happens if I want to use the hot plate for a milchik Sida, right? Can I use the same hot plate that I normally use for Shabbos Kodesh? Or, for example, the oven that I want to bake milchik things, or even cheesecakes, whatever it may be, in an oven. I don't have enough place to get them in the milchik oven. What am I meant to do with the oven? And those sorts of shailas are some of the things that we're going to deal with, especially because one of the common shailas are people that eat either milchiks after fleishiks, with of course the waiting time, and fleishiks after milchik. What do you have to do in between, which is very nageh? Let's say, for example, you go to a milchik meal and the Suda is milchiks, and then whatever it is, wherever you're learning that night, they're going to be serving fleishiks throughout the night. What's the din with that sort of shaila? Or the other way around, which we'll get to Be'ez Hashem. So, but Shevuos is always an opportunity to do a little bit of a crash course, to learn Halachos Basar V'Chalav, just to give us a little bit of a recap, to know all the halachas. Those of you that were here last year, another chazara on the Halachos of Basar V'Chalav. So hopefully we'll try to get through as much as we can in the next couple of days, and then we'll just hit the regular Hilchos Shevuos and Minhagim of Shevuos with the shailas that are nageh over there. So we know. We'll start with the beginning, we'll start at the top, and then we'll work our way through some of the shailas that we have to get to. As Baruch Hashem, I'm speaking to a very, well-learned oilam who know Basar V'Chalav already. So, Baruch Hashem, so let's see in the Ma'aseh if we'll be able to hit some of the good shailas with the oilam that spent time learning Basar V'Chalav. The pasuk says, Lo yisavashal gdi b'chalev imay. That means you must not cook a kid in its mother's milk. That's a literal translation of the pasuk, but that's where we learn, says the Shulchan Aruch, and Yeridei Simon Pei that you cannot cook basar and cholov together. Irrelevant if it's the mother's milk or not the mother's milk, either Torah said so, different shvus. But Akaponim, cooking basar v'cholov is asa. Now the Shulchan Aruch asks the Kash, Yeridei Simon Pei why does it say 3 times? Lo yisabashal gadi b'chalev imay. It says in the Torah 3 times. Why? Why does it say it 3 times? The answer, says the Shulchan Aruch, is 1 to teach us the Issa Bishul, which we'll get to. 1 is to teach us the Issa of Hana, and 1 is to teach us the Issa of Achila. So I have specifically 3 psukim in the Torah telling us the same thing to teach us a different prohibition. Achila and Hana and Bishul. Okay? So for example, Bishul means that you cannot cook Basar V'Chalav even if it does not belong to you, even if you have absolutely no intention to eat it. Right? For example, we mentioned this I think when we discussed the business in Halacha Shailas, but somebody calls me up one time and he wants to work in a McDonald's restaurant, which of course we know, I'm sure many people may have seen the advertisements for McDonald's, is that you've got the burger and then you've got the cheese dripping down the sides over there. So whether that's called bishul or not, I don't know. That's a different shaila, ein pischei tshuva over there in Yeridei Simon Pei Zayin. But if it would be considered to be bishul, then what? If it's considered to be bishul, then he's not eating it, he's simply working in the restaurant. Good shaila. Why is asking the shaila about working in the McDonald's restaurant? Where's he holding? Enochanami. That's a good kasha. But Al Kaponim, he's there and he wants to know, can he cook if it doesn't belong to him? The answer is no. You cannot cook meat and milk even if it doesn't belong to you. There's a famous tshuva from the Chibini Rav and Dov Misham Cheni Beis, where he brings over there, Moed Gazach. He says there was a butter that they found that it may have had blias of meat inside it. The only way to test whether it had blias of meat was to cook it up. So the question was, am I allowed to cook it up in order to know whether or not it's over or not? Or for example, once I got a phone call from a fellow. He was in a business meeting. They made a barbecue for all of the employees of the worker, whatever over there. And they said there was a big barbecue going on, and they were putting on burgers. Obviously, he wasn't eating. It wasn't the gay. It wasn't kosher. But he had to be there with the oilam, whatever it may be. And therefore, because of that, he goes to the barbecue and he sees that they're burning. The burgers are burning. Now the problem is they'd smeared butter all over these burgers. So he called me up. He says, "Can I flip the burger?" Pasha, I feel bad. It's just getting burnt over there. While everyone else is, who knows where they are by the swimming pool, I'm nowhere near there, but I'm by the barbecue, and I see that they're burning. Am I allowed to flip that burger or not? Or is that a shayla bishul basar v'cholov, because again there's butter on those burgers, or I'm not eating it? The answer is you're not allowed, even if you're not coming to eat it in that case. Now there's an obvious kasha. What does it mean, bishul? What's the derech bishul? Rav Moshe has a famous tshuva about a microwave. What's the din of a microwave? Is a microwave considered to be bishul? Legabe basar v'cholov, legabe Shabbos, it might be something else, maybe chamei teveria. But when it comes to bishul or basar v'cholov, then that would, according to Rav Moshe, that would be considered to be bishul mamish. According to Rav Moshe, that he says Rav Moshe is a moed gazach. He writes that even though people now don't cook in it, but since lemaisa there'll be a time that people will use it for bishul, mimela it's going to be over the nissa, and that's Rav Moshe paskins that a microwave is over on the issa of bishul. Right, and it's a very negay shaylas. Right, I mentioned to the shayla of somebody that emailed me from a university somewhere in America in the middle of nowhere, and he's on his way to the cafeteria, and sometimes one of the other people in the university, they say, do me a favor, I have a sandwich, could you please throw it in the microwave for me? Am I allowed to do that or not? Maybe in that sandwich he's got pastrami and butter, I don't know, and I'm cooking it in the microwave. So that will be Toila in Reb Kiva Eiger and the Ramah in Semen Pei Zayin talking about it. There's also Modig Tshuva of Chadushu Reb Shmuel in Ksubas Semen Zayin talking about the sugi over there. But upon him, that's the idea of bishul. Or for example, the Olim remembers, right? The Olim remembers the shayla that came in from a certain place, right? Yudel is nodding his head because he remembers. Who can forget such a shayla, right? Baruch Hashem, the guy somewhere in Eretz Yisrael, which will not be named, about the washing machine, right? Is one allowed to put a tablecloth from the Friday night meal, which is fleishiks, and the tablecloth from the shalosh hidus, which is milchik, in the Zelma washing machine? Is that considered to be basar v'cholov? If Shamay Gras, right? And Shevet Chelik Zayin brings down the shayla. If you're allowed to, okay, he's not talking about the halachos of Chil Hashem and whatever else, maybe stealing, or all sorts of other shaylas. But the Gabi, this shayla, is a person allowed to light a garbage can on fire if inside the garbage can is going to be basar v'cholov, and he's over on bishul basar v'cholov when he cooks it with the fire. Upon him, that's the idea of derech bishul. Achila obviously means that the doraisa is to eat them when they were cooked together. That's the issa. And hana means only when it's also doraisa will it be asa b'hana, which means that the only time that it's ever to have issa hana benefit from basar v'cholov is in a case where they were cooked together. So for example, if a person takes a piece of meat and a piece of cheese, puts them together, you can have hana from that be'etzem. Can't eat it, obviously, can't cook it, but you can have hana. Whereas once it was cooked together, so now it's also hana, which would mean it will be also to give it to your cleaner. You cannot give it to someone who's going to, obviously someone who's allowed to eat it, but you can't do that. There's this, by the way, the be'alocha, who doesn't really talk about Isav Heta so much. But if you look at the Chofetz Chaim in the end of Seven Shin Zayin in the Be'alocha, he brings over there the Isav Amira La'akum by a goy, which by basar v'cholov. He says you can't tell a goy to cook basar v'cholov. Why? What do you mean? He's cooking it for himself. He's not cooking it for me. Teretz says that Amira La'akum applies not only to Shabbos, which is the famous one, but it applies to any Isav that you yourself cannot do. So he passes on Chofetz Chaim in the end of Seven Shin Zayin in the Be'alocha Ayin Shom. Moving on to Aboisai, lots of different shaylas when it comes to Hana, working in a waiter like that guy that called me up from Tel Aviv, where, for example, one day they had on the menu basar para bavushal b'chalav. Is he allowed to serve that? He's not eating it. He's not serving it to Yidden, so it's not a problem of lifting either. But is he allowed to work in such a place? These are shaylas of hana that are negay. For example, someone cooks up a basar b'chalav egg in his apartment. Is he allowed to give it to the cleaner? So this is the basic idea of basar b'chalav in that case. Now, moving on to what's more negay to us for Shevuos is, of course, the waiting from the meat to the milk and the milk to the meat. Right? That's where it's the gate to Shevuos, where people have all the different shaylas. So let's go very, very quickly over one of the halachas. Number one, tomorrow we're going to get to some of the technical details of the hot plates and the ovens and stuff like that. But just one thing over here, and that is, when a person eats meat, the Shulchan Aruch paskins, Yeridei Siman Peites Sif Aleph. Look it up, you have to wait 6 hours. That's based on a Gemara, where the Gemara says that they would wait misuda l'suda. How much? The Gemara in Brachos, Gemara in Pesachim, how much was the sudas of a Talmud Chacham? It was 6 hours. So as I paskin the Shulchan Aruch is very clear, Svadim are very makbid, and therefore, they're very careful. Al Pi Zohar Kodesh, the Zohar Kodesh said a person should wait 24 hours between after eating meat before eating milk. As I state in the Zohar Kodesh, in fact, some of the Mukubalim and Rebbes were noyeg to be machmeh this shita of the Zohar Kodesh. In fact, the Chernobyl Rebbe one time, it was Shevuos, and he ate fleishy gesida, Kiyadua, he had a fleishig asida for Yontif, for other, but then he wanted to Mekayim the mitzvah of Klal Yisrael of eating milchiks, but he has a problem, right? Because he was in Eretz Yisrael only one day. So therefore the question is, what is he meant to do? He has to wait 24 hours after eating meat, but he had a fleishig asida. So what did he do? He took a milchik spoon, a ben yoimai milchik spoon, and he stuck it into a hot tea. And he said, okay, this I'm going to be noyeg, I'm going to be, Mekayim, the minig of Klal Yisrael of eating milchiks on Shevuos. That, again, we laugh because we're like, okay, that's cute. But I might say, if you hold it, a ben yoimai spoon is be'emes, the blias, so then what's the shayla? He's taka right. Problems we don't really, anyway. Al kaponim, that is number one. Number two. Moving on, so 6 hours, the Rambam says, Keshe Shoyes, there's a Lashon Meiri, there's a Daketshuva from Munkash that brings the different sheeters for the Prichodosh and others, whatever, different sheeters, and whether a person has to wait 6, there are people that wait 3, I'm sure, in this room over here, right? Avada. Okay, where does that come from? Is it real? Is it a minig toys? Not a minig toys? I have no idea. There are books about these things that you can get, and you can look up these books yourself and figure out what to do. Al kaponim. The gabe the shaila of waiting after eating meat. Why? Why do you wait after eating meat? Simple reason. Machlokes Rashi and the Rambam. Very simple. Rashi holds moishech tam. That means the taste of the meat is going to linger in your throat, in your palate, and therefore that's a problem to have that within 6 hours. After 6 hours, it's gone. The Rambam holds no. We're worried about meat between your teeth that will after 6 hours no longer be considered to be meat. Now there are tons of different shaylas about this sugya, about, for example, this is a common one, people don't chap. If you go to a store where they serve French fries, right, chips, and in that oil they have fried schnitzel, okay? So right now they're not frying schnitzel. They did that earlier on this morning, last night, whatever it may be. Right now they're frying French fries in the same oil. That oil is fleishik mamish. Those French fries are meat mamish. You will have to wait 6 hours after those French fries. Whereas, if, for example, you cook a challah in a fleishig oven, that will not require you to wait 6 hours. I remember having this argument with a goyna godler, a Moshe Sternberg shlita, and I remember we were walking on the way to his house, and I said, what happens if you take an oven and you cook challahs, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, and you also cook in the flesh? You have meat and challah in the same oven at the same time. Do you have to wait 6 hours after the challah? And he said to me, Avada, I said, I don't understand. I don't have Rashi, and I don't have the Rambam. There's no Boseh Ben Shenayim, because there's no meat. There's no Moishech Tam, because like Rashi says, no taste lingering. It's not like when you eat like a hot dog or something like that. You can you taste it, you burp it up. You can feel the flesh over there. This is a challah. You didn't even taste anything whatsoever. Anyway, Al Kaponim, that's what he held in that case over there. But we are makel that we hold that you do not have to wait 6 hours unless it was fried in the oil of the schnitzel, or of course unless it has fleishig ingredients in that case. By the way, making something in a fleishiger pot, even if it was used in the last 24 hours for fleish, will not require you to wait 6 hours. So for example, if you have a chicken soup after Shabbos, and within 20 minutes of cleaning it, right, it was used for hot chicken soup, 20 minutes later, I boil up some rice, or anything for that matter, right, could be that I can't use that rice with milchiks, at least lechatchila, not run out, we'll talk about that. But b'di'eved, for sure you could, which means you will definitely not have to wait 6 hours after such a rice. Or for example, if you take an onion, this is the famous Rebbe Kivegi, or Deis Peites, that what happens if a person takes an onion and he cuts it with a fleishig knife, right? So the whole onion be'etzem, paskins, like a machlokes rishonim. But lemaisa, according to Ashkenazim, the whole onion becomes fleishik mamish. But that doesn't mean that you have to wait 6 hours after such an onion. It may be a problem to put it into a milchika salad, because that's not good. Maybe tomorrow we'll touch upon a bit of dover chorif in that case. But going back to what we said, Shulchan Aruch paskin 6 hours. The Ramah says really it's 1 hour, right? And he brings Be'etzem Tosfos, because Tosfos holds that you can wait from one to the other the amount of time it takes to bench. That's what he stated in Tosfos. Tosfos says if you bench, then you can eat milchik. Right now we don't paskin out the Tosfos. The Ramah does bring it down, and he brings down the minig of 1 hour, but then he says that avada you should be noyeg to have 6 hours, like the Shulchan Aruch and the Shach and the Taz are busy, that anyone that's got a shmek of Torah inside him, avada Shevuos, Kabbalah Torah, want him to climb all the mitzvahs, we don't want to do something wrong on Shevuos. Memela in that case, the Ramah says to wait 6 hours. Chacham Zodom paskins it's mamas a shayla v'neder, anyone that goes against 6 hours of the Shulchan Aruch, except of course the Chasam Sofer b'huva b'piskei tshuva, that if a person is a choila, whatever, there's a mocha to be makel ayin shom over there. Moving on, one last halacha that we can squeeze in. If a person eats milchiks, and then he wants to eat fleishiks, very nageya by the way, right? Here in Yeshiva Kedosha, and in many places, they have a milchik kiddush. What happens if a person goes to a milchik kiddush, and then he goes straight on to have a fleishig asida, which again, is sometimes the minig that people do. They want to be yotz the minig of klal or eating milchik, but they don't want to have a milchik asida. So they have a fleishig asida, but before that they have a milchik kiddush. So what's the din in such a case? So in order to go from milk to meat, unless it's hard cheese, you do not have to wait, right? Okay, there's a Nechanami, there's a Zohar Kodesh, the Ramah brings it down. But Akaponim, most people, if you don't have a minig, right? There are some Sfardim, some Hasidim that have such a minig, but if you don't have such a minig, you do not have to wait anything after eating milchiks, unless it's hard cheese, before eating fleishiks. What you do have to do is kinuach, hadocha, and netilas yadayim. Okay, now there's a shayla whether you have to do netilas yadayim if you ate the milchiks with a fork and a spoon, you didn't touch it with your hands, or there's a shayla, for example, if I could do kinuach and hadocha. By the way, let me define. Kinuach and hadocha means to eat something and to swish out your mouth and to drink something. Okay, it's lashon of the shachar shtickle, to swish out your mouth. Al kaponim, you need to eat something and drink something before. It's kind of what we do, by the way. The oinam knows, right? On a Friday night after the fish, before we have the chicken soup, we eat something, right? Whether it's to be sachala, we have a l'chaim. People are very makbid to have alcohol because this way that's going to burn out all of the fish blias and it's got no problem whatsoever. This all comes from the Gemara. This all comes from the Shulchan Aruch Yodei Sebe Kufte Zayin. You see, base where he talks about the sugya of sakana and how a person has to be careful not to have fish and meat together, which is a sakana. How that means exactly if it's cooked together. But if you have something in between, then it's okay. Same thing over here. When you eat milchiks at your cheesecake, whatever it may be, eat something. Don't eat something sticky, says the Shulchan Aruch, like leafy vegetables. Shulchan Aruch says flour, but no one knows eating flour. But I can put in things that stick to like a chewy sweet or something like that. Don't eat those things. Have a cookie, have a potato chip, have a pretzel, whatever it may be, something parav, then that's going to get, and then wash out your mouth afterwards. That's kinuach and hadocha. And if you didn't touch anything, you don't have to do netilas yadayim. In that case, it's okay. Now it's interesting because some soifas are modik tshuva. We'll end with this. There's a modik some soifas. Some soifas says, I don't understand. I didn't see people doing this. You ever saw someone going into the lunchroom by dinner? And they said, hold on a minute, wait, I just had a coffee with milk. And if I just had a coffee with milk, I had milkshakes. And now I'm going to have schnitzel. Oy vavoy. What's going to But what's going to be? You know, I said, kinuach and hadocha. What's going on? Some sofa even bigger than that. Right? The Medrash tells us, Parashat Vayera, everybody knows. The Medrash says that when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai, what happened? The Malachim, they say, excuse me, Rebbeinu Shalom, you can't give him the Torah. Because look what happened by Avram Avinu. When Avram Avinu, right after his bris milah, he was waiting for the orchim, he was waiting for guests, and 3 Arabs that were really malachim, of course, were dressed up as Arabs, and they came in, and the pasuk says quite clearly what happened. They ate basa v'chalav. So there we go. You served them, you did that. What's going on? How could you do that? So the answer in a Chanami, of course, it's got the Stipler says a moed gezakt. The Stipler in Kedis Yaakov brings down in Birchas Peretz. The Stipler says that there was a fire inside the mouth, and it burned up any of the blias that might be there, which is why it's not a problem of basa v'chalav. And the real teretz is, by the way, is that they had first the milchiks and then the fleishiks. That's what it is. And therefore, if that's the case, they didn't do a kinuach and a hadocha. Some sofer, it comes out that Moshe Rabbeinu's teretz, in order to receive the Torah and Shevuos, was because of kinuach and hadocha. And therefore, we have to make sure if you eat milchiks before you eat fleishiks, then it's okay, as long as it's over an hour and under an hour. If it's over an hour's time, then you don't have to do kinuach and hadocha. Over an hour, you can continue without doing anything whatsoever. It's within an hour of eating milchiks, then of course you have to do kinuach and hadocha. Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow we shall continue with some of the shalos of Basa V'chalav. Have an amazing day.